Hi class, today you're going to take notes on day 3, solving trig problems. You will need your trig booklet, your calculator, something to write with, and some paper. Today we're going to learn a third method to find sides of a triangle. Day 1, you learned how to use Pythagorean theorem. Day 2, you learned about the special right triangles. And today we're going to learn the third method that you have to use in all other cases. Make sure you take notes because you need to bring these to class tomorrow, and these are what you're going to get credit for your homework grade. You're responsible to make sure that your calculator is always in the correct mode. So we're going to start by making sure that you are in degree mode. In order to do this, hit the mode button on the top of your calculator. You want to make sure that the degree is highlighted or darkened, as you see here on the screen. If it is not, move the cursor to the word degree and hit enter, and then move the cursor away from that, and your screen should now look like mine. If you are not in the correct mode, then all of your answers are going to be incorrect. You may want to pause the video just to make sure that your calculator is set up correctly. Again, you are responsible to make sure that your calculator is in the correct mode every day. If you look at your calculator, you'll see that you have 3 buttons in the middle: sine, cosine, and tangent. You do not have buttons for cosecant, secant, or cotangent. So you're going to have to type those in as you see on the screen. Cosecant is a reciprocal of sine, so if you have to find the cosecant of an angle, you would have to type in 1 divided by sine. The same would be true for secant and cotangent. You can see here on this slide that I say round to 1 decimal place. We'll talk about that as we go through some examples. Sometimes you round to 2 or 3 decimal places, and in other cases you'll round to 1 decimal place. Alright, we're getting a little practice using our calculator. So I want you to type in the cosine of 73. Hit enter, and you should see the long decimal, 0.2923. And I'm just going to round that to 2 decimal places and write down 0.29. Next, we're going to ask you to find the cosecant of 64. You may have to refer to your notes, but hopefully you remember that cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So you have to type in 1 divided by the sine. And I see here I typed in 65 instead of 64. And on your calculator, you will see 1.08 instead of what you see here. So if you rounded to 1.1, that would be fine. We'll talk about this tomorrow just to make sure everybody understood this example here, since I did make an error on the slide. Alright, hopefully you understand how to use the calculator. Now we're going to give you some steps here on how to solve a triangle. These steps are used to find sides of a triangle when you cannot use Pythagorean theorem and it's not one of the special right triangles. Your job is to notice when you have to use which option. Today you are given 1 side and 1 angle measure. That is your clue that we are going to use this method and nothing else. You have to decide what trig ratio to use based on the angle, the side that's given to you, and the side that you're looking for. It's going to vary from problem to problem, so every time you start a problem, you're going to have to start from the beginning. So using the angle that's given to you, the side that's given to you, and the side you're looking for, you have to pick the correct trig ratio. You're going to choose from sine, cosine, and tangent because those are the easiest to work with. You're going to write an equation, and then you're going to solve that equation using some algebra skills that you learned a couple years ago. We're going to be using the same method in a couple days when we have to find measures of angles. So it's important that you understand this process now. Next, you're going to see two examples where we have to find the sides of a triangle. All right, here you are given the following triangle. Take a moment to copy it down. And I'm going to begin by finding side x. It does not matter which side you find first. I just chose to pick x here. So looking at angle 52, side x, and side 22, you have to figure out what trig ratio corresponds to that information. So looking at angle 52, side x, and side 22, you should be able to come up with that relating to the cosine. So your equation will be cosine of 52 equals adjacent over hypotenuse, x over 22. From here, we have just two steps to solve. Cross multiply, and you'll have 22 times the cosine of 52 equals x. And that's what you're going to type into your calculator. Exactly what you see there. We're going to round to one decimal place, and you should get x to equal 13.5. We're going to follow the same process to find side y. So looking at angle 52, side y, and side 22, we should be able to come up with that relating to the sine, because we have opposite over hypotenuse. So our equation will be sine of 52 equals y over 22. We're going to cross multiply, and that's what we're going to type into our calculator. 22 times the sine of 52. Make sure you're typing these into your calculator at home, just to make sure that your calculator is working correctly. And you will get y to equal 17.3. I want you to think about how you can check your answers after you found all three sides of a triangle. I'm going to ask that question in class. So how can you check your answers after you find the two missing sides? All right, we have another example that's going to follow, very similar to this one. Here you are given angle 32, side 13, and again, it does not matter which side you find first. Again, I'm just going to go with x. So looking from angle 32 and using sides 13 and x, think about what trig ratio corresponds to that. If you said sine, you are correct. The sine of 32 degrees is opposite over hypotenuse, which is 13 over x. Now here we have the variable in the denominator, but we're still going to use the same steps that we did before. We're going to cross multiply. So we're going to have x times the sine of 32 equals 13. But here we have one extra step. In order to get x by itself, we have to divide both sides by the sine of 32. And we're going to get x to equal 13 divided by the sine of 32. That's what you type into your calculator. We're going to round to one decimal place, and x is going to equal 24.5. All right, I want you to think about side y. I want you to pause the video here and see if you can come up with what trig ratio corresponds to angle 32, side 13, and side y. You don't want to use the side that you just found, 24.5, because if that is incorrect, then the next part of this problem is going to be incorrect. So what trig ratio corresponds to angle 32, side y, and side 13? If you said tangent, you are understanding this lesson. The tangent of 32 equals opposite over adjacent, so 13 over y. We're going to have to cross multiply, and to get y by itself, we have to divide both sides by the tangent of 32. Type that into your calculator, and you should get y to equal 20.8. Alright, so this is your lesson on finding sides of a triangle. Hopefully you understand when to use this method. As I stated earlier in this video, we're going to use this again to find angles in a couple of days. If you have any questions, make sure you write them down and bring those to class with you tomorrow.